Didn't say no. There we go. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We're at the Urbanna Town Council work session on this April 13th, 2023. Let's call to order. I see Andrea Arard joining us by Zoom. That's good. Mr. Tuning is going to be late, but we'll have a roll call. Marjorie Austin.
Here.
Beth Justice.
Here.
The mayor's here. Bill Goldsmith, Alana Courtney.
Here.
Mary Hanson.
Here.
And Sandy Sturgill.
Here.
Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have the agenda for this evening. Could I entertain a motion for someone?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, moving to the vote. Sandy Sturgill,
Yes.
Mary Hanson,
Yes.
Alana Courtney,
Yes.
Bill Goldsmith says yes. Beth Justice.
Yes.
And Marjorie Austin.
Yes.
All right. Let's open things up for public comment. Any public comment up there?
I don't think so. Nope, doesn't look like
Billy?
it's in here. Anybody sign up for public comment? No, you're good.
Anyone? Anyone? All right. Christy, no?
No.
Come on, Christie.
All right. Moving on, since there's no public comment, there's no response. And we have this evening with us Greg Faulkner and Tony Brooks from Bristow Faulkner Funeral Home in Saluda. They have other locations, but they're here to talk to us about the Middlesex Cemetery that's up on the hill just outside of town. Who wants to take the lead?
You want me to come up here?
Yes, please.
I'm just going to start, and Tony knows he's been involved in the cemetery much more than I have over the years. I'm going to turn it over to him as he's been actually working with it so many years. But anyway, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Greg Faulkner. My father was Bill Faulkner, lovingly known as Charlie Bill. And of course, he was involved in the funeral homes as well. He and Elliot Richardson started the cemetery as a nonprofit, which it still is. I think it's 1966, right, Tony, is when it started. And being no other cemeteries right in Urbanna, their desire was to have a cemetery for the community. And so they started that. They worked together as they did for many years. And it's still a nonprofit cemetery. It's, you know, my father and quite a few of my family are buried there, Tony's family. Some of you in here probably have some family buried there. And so where my brother Billy and I now are own each 50% of the funeral homes, and we don't have anything planned to sell or anything like that. None of that's even on the horizon. We want to make sure, Tony wants to make sure that, and Mr. Richardson's son wants to make sure that this cemetery keeps going. And that it's here as an asset for the people in Urbanna and surrounding Urbanna. And, you know, I'm almost 68. My brother's almost 71. And Tony, he's getting really old.
I'll
be 40. 62, I think. And so we're not going to be around forever. You know, eventually we'll retire. And so we want to make sure that the cemetery is in good hands and preferably stays as a nonprofit. That was Mr. Richardson's and my dad's goal from the beginning. That's what we'd like to keep it being. It has been that way all the way. So that's it. It just seems to me and to Tony and to others, my brother Billy that couldn't be here, that it's a perfect fit. You know, whatever funds are there, Tony, you know, we've already discussed that in the past, but whatever funds are there would be transferred, the property would be transferred, and we just want to make sure it keeps going. So any questions, I'll be happy to answer if I can. I just wanted to thank you all for letting us be here. We hope you will consider this very strongly, and we hope that you will do it. And Tony, I'm gonna let you come up and he can give you a lot more information than I probably can.
And to be clear, the proposal is that the town take over the cemetery. Land responsibility and the funds that are out there that you have backed up for maintenance in the future.
Right.
And any plots that would be sold then would also be generating revenue to maintain it.
That's correct.
So there is an account, this money that's here goes for the maintenance, to pay the maintenance person for mowing the grass.
It,
And that,
yeah, Tony
Okay.
will, yeah, he'll
Okay.
address all that for you. But yes, the answer, Mayor, to those questions are yes. Yeah,
I just wanted to, I know it's in the agenda, but I just want to make it clear to the public,
Right.
you know, what we're talking.
And we would say that, and I know Tony would say this, while we're still around, which we hope to be for a while, you know, we certainly are more than willing to assist in doing things like marking off graves and things like that. However we can assist. I mean, but everything would transfer to the town.
great.
Thank you. I guess I echo what Greg said, you know, with Mr. Richardson and Greg's dad, Bill, you know, it was a big passion to them for the community, our town and the community, to have a place to lay our loved ones to rest. And I guess I'd call it hallowed ground up there. I'm looking at folks in here that I know have loved ones up there. My parents are there. My lovely bride I lost at Christmas time. Greg and Billy's dad is up there, grandmother, great grandparents are up there.
My
Uh,
great grandfather and grandmother are there, my daughters
And
up
your
there.
lovely Hannah. But anyway, we just want to see it keep going, and like Greg said, we're not getting any younger. And we don't want to just give it to somebody, and we've seen so many cemeteries just go defunct.
Oh, yeah.
People take the money and run. And we don't want that to happen. We want it taken care of. And we felt like the last several years, the town is the best. Is it a money maker? It's not. It's been able to take care of itself. It's about 6 acres up there. I'm not sure how many grave spaces are used right now. I'm guessing it's probably 250 graves up there now. And it's still room for, just kind of eyeballing it, it's still room for 1,000 grave spaces up there. We're getting $1,000 a piece right now, and we need to go up. You know how the market's been, so the money's not growing a lot, but it's been able to take care of itself. And it's about, give or take a few $100s, about $70,000 that we have in cash. So we would turn that over, and the 6 acres plus or minus. And I know Billy and Greg would certainly help, you know, with the like helping like sell spaces until you guys learn how to do it, what to do. It's pretty elementary. So but we would always pitch in and help. So you got a handle on it. And I just hope y'all would reconsider it again. Because it's very near and dear to me, and I know to several people in here. So just don't let us down this time. Just think real hard about it.
Absolutely.
And part of the history, to, if I may interrupt, is that I think it was probably 2.5 years ago, probably actually closer to 3.
3, yes, sir.
Yeah, 3 years ago.
Yeah,
You approached council
we
and we
did.
discussed it and just never moved on it at the
Right,
time.
right.
Without making a definitive decision. No vote was taken. And we had discussed this at that point. Were there other things that you were gonna?
No,
say
that's
this.
about it. I just, you know, I don't know if there's any questions or concerns that Greg and I could address, so.
Well, I just have a couple of questions that I'll butt in. How many plats are currently marked, or is the open space totally unmarked I'm just getting into some of the nitty gritty here.
All right, the whole center section is full. There's no more spaces for sale in the center section. There are spaces that are vacant there for surviving family members that own lots in the center.
Okay,
The section on the right, as you pull in the back right, not where Hannah is, but in the back right where Mr. and Ms. Walton's mausoleum is, that is all spoken for. It's not full, but it's all been sold. And then all the way in the back where you see the big black monument, that's 104 spaces back there. And out of those 104, probably 50% of them has been sold. But on that back right corner where where it backs up to the cell tower,
Right.
it's certainly, and I know I'm under guessing, it's certainly 1,000 spaces in there that has not been marked off.
okay.
It would be 1,000 or more that I know, because we got 104 in that one little space in the back. I know you can get 12 or 15 more that time in that large section.
And I know nothing about this. Other than walking,
Right.
through a few cemeteries over my lifetime, but are they designated already so that you can tell where they are supposed to be? I know
The ones that
gravestones-
are surveyed off, that's galvanized metal stakes in the ground, and we found them with a metal detector. You know, we pull the plat out, and we know like the lots in the section where it's the 104 spaces, they're 12 by 15,
Right.
and you can get 4 spaces in there.
And based on how you're presenting this, I'm assuming that once it is purchased, that's the last charge for that
That
individual.
it's perpetual
So-
care there.
Perpetual care.
And
Okay.
what a lot of people misunderstand is, if you read the little deed we issue, when you purchase the space, you're purchasing the burial rights there. You don't own that little piece of ground.
Right.
You have rights to be buried in that space. But the cemetery still owns the cemetery and is responsible for it. And that's spelled out on the deeds.
Okay.
Well, may I ask you-
Does anybody else have any
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah, I know nothing about the legal responsibilities of owning and maintaining a cemetery. Is that information that you can provide us with? And I'm sure that our counsel, Andre Erard, can help us with that too, but I know there have to be legal obligations associated with this.
You know, Mr. Faulkner took care of it your dad took care of it for 30 plus years. I've taken care of it for the last 25. And it's been no legal
Oh,
hiccups anywhere. Everything has just gone smooth. So to say we've come across anything that we needed an attorney for, or
Right. I guess what you're asking is if all of a sudden in the future, 10 councils from now, they decide they're not going to keep it up anymore and they just pass on it, is there legal exposure to the town? Is that?
Well,
what you're
that-
asking?
I'm wondering what
I would
exposure
not
the
think,
town
you know, once we transferred it to the town, I mean, you folks could sell it the next day. You know, I would hope not.
And our attorney has something to say. on
Okay.
this.
When a locality owns and operates a cemetery, there are fairly extensive and very specific requirements to the locality. And if the council is seriously entertaining this proposal, I would ask that on the next agenda or another agenda where council has the time, that I be provided an opportunity to kind of walk you through those requirements. I do represent other localities that have cemeteries, and it's different than if a private person or a company owns a cemetery when it's owned by the locality.
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was my question.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Anyone else?
I do. There must be like a yearly maintenance cost for cutting the grass and.
You always cut the grass.
Yeah, Brent, and my youngest son and I, we had a couple folks that cut it for years. And of course, they had to go up, and when it got to where the cemetery wasn't able to generate the funds through this market. My son and I took it over, and we're literally doing it at cost. We're using our own equipment, get enough of it to buy gas, and just because of the passion that we have for the cemetery, we didn't want to see it go under.
Right.
And I mean, we $250, and it's an all-day job up there. And I know, just guessing, it's certainly it's probably a $600 to $800 job up there
Right.
to maintain that place.
Each
Each
cut?
cutting, and we've been cutting it about the last 15 years. We've been cutting it about every 10 days.
Mhm.
Oh,
Wow.
and at the 10th day it needs it. If you had a lot of rain and heat, but to try to keep the expenses down, and it normally averages anywhere from $6,500 to $7,500 a year.
So the 13,000
Yeah.
per year here is just an estimate that you think it would cost if y'all weren't doing it.
I'm
Fine.
just looking at it, just guessing.
I made that estimate based
Ah.
on contacting the folk that we have contract with
Gotcha.
cutting the grass.
Got
Okay.
it. Okay,
And,
okay.
and there's a second cemetery up there, right?
There is that's the Hurley and Payne family. I think I have that right on the building. Hurley's and the Paynes. It's to the far right.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then right on the side there, well, little Miss Hannah is buried.
It's the bird.
Middlesex Memorial does own that. We took that in several years ago.
Yeah, because there's really old
Yeah.
graves over there.
So that is included in
That
this
isn't-
property that
Not,
you're
not
being
the,
asked?
you're not the part, as you pull into the cemetery, the strip on the right, as you're going west in the cemetery, headed towards the center of the cemetery, the little strip on the right is Middlesex Memorial. And then from there, about probably 40 to 50 yards over is another little cemetery. It's probably 20 graves over there. That's Red Hill Cemetery, and that is not part of this.
Mhm.
And I know where all the little points and
We
corners
do.
and
I bet you
and
do.
everything is, so.
I would say that when it comes to maintenance, obviously it's going to cost more than what Tony and his son have been doing it for. The funds that we have right now, the interest is not likely to take care of that always. And of
Mhm.
course, the cemetery needs to be kept up. Selling of grave spaces, things like that. That's what, having some money come in, and there's a lot more grave spaces to be had, to be sold up there. So as you sell grave spaces, and that adds to the principal of the account, obviously, you need to do that. We have never had, to my knowledge, not since I've been back, a real push to try to sell grave spaces. We haven't put any ads in the newspaper. It's just been as people wanted to do it. My thinking would be is, if I was going to be dealing with it long term, is that that every once in a while I would do something to try to sell more grave space, to offer them maybe even at a little bit better price within a certain period of time, to encourage people that are looking and haven't done anything to go ahead and do it, to build up that principle more. Just depending on the interest, where it needs to be for the interest to take care of it. But certainly, if you never sold another space, which is not going to happen, but if that didn't, the $70,000 or thereabouts would run out eventually. The grass is cut how many months out of the year? Maybe 6 months. or
We
so.
normally start at Easter and finish up the week before Oyster Festival.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not, the like October, September and October, it might be cut 3 times. We cut it the week before Oyster Festival, just so it looks nice.
So it's not all year, but then again, you could have a tree limb come down. And
Right.
someone need to get that up, or, something that just is maintaining the appearance and all.
Right.
When it comes to the grave opening and closing, the vault plant that we own does all of that, as we do for many of the cemeteries around here. And
Is there a fee to the cemetery for doing that?
It's a fee to the family.
Okay,
Yeah, to the family. Right now, that's $1,300,
okay.
no matter when it is, pretty much. And to give you an idea where my mother's buried in Richmond, it's over double
Yeah,
that.
I'm sure.
Mhm.
I'm sure.
You know, so it's reasonable, but no, that doesn't go to the town. That goes to the family for the opening and closing.
I have a question on the dollar amounts because we have two numbers in the document in front of us. It says it is currently a 501c3 organization with a $75,000 trust and an investment account of approximately $67,000. I haven't heard either of you talk about it as though there are two accounts, but one.
No, that's 4 accounts. We have one with Wells Fargo, US Global, Fidelity, and we have a checking, which is the operating fund with Truist. And the total amount, just off the top of my head, is total on all 4 accounts is around $70,000.
So this is not correct. then.
No,
I don't
it
know where
makes
they
it look
came
like
from.
it's 75,000 and
That was
67.
what I wrote down when you and I talked.
Okay,
So that was a mistake.
okay. yeah.
So it is
That would be
only,
nice. I feel like if the cemetery, just rolling a little bit of math around in my Middlesex education, if the cemetery had around $100,000, it could probably take care of itself.
oh, okay.
And that's, you know, if you get out here and hustle those grave spaces and sell them, you know, you could probably get to that.
Add that to Steve's job description.
But since
I'm just
we-
not a salesman. I mean, Greg and Billy are slave drivers. I'm busy at the funeral home. So,
So it's a little awkward for the town to be hustling grave sites.
Yeah.
So it's gonna have to be the funeral home's gonna have to hustle that.
but,
You know, though,
I would just-
I will tell you that having lived in Williamsburg for 15 years and because I was a town resident, we could buy town plots for, I think it was $1,800, which was a real deal each at the time. But you had to be a town resident. So it was actually one of those things that was pretty desirable to do because you were a town resident and that's the way they marketed it.
I bet you Gil Granger didn't agree with that.
Yeah, probably not.
I have a quick question. I don't even know if it has anything to do with it, but you know how like when Hannah passed and my family had bought all those lots up there way,
Mhm.
way back. Who takes care of those records and
Unfortunately, there is no record of that section where Hannah is in.
so how
We
did,
just
how
kind
did,
of, we just kind of eyeball and take
Okay.
your word for it when you say, you know, somebody passed in your family. You know, go 3 spaces over, yeah. from
because
Hannah would be-
there was a child of an unmarked grave up there. You
It's
told
been
us.
marked.
It's been
That was
marked
the
now?
Dodges, Carl and Flo Dodds
Okay.
lost a child.
Okay,
Oh.
all right.
And he kind of guessed with where a couple little dogwood stumps were and a
Mm.
tree.
I'm just
and,
wondering who has that knowledge to take it from where, it's, you
you know,
know,
I just took it from
Right.
his Dodds, you know, 20 years ago.
because I think I have 2 more plots up there, I think.
It looks like you probably have more than that.
Okay, so, but when I die, I want somebody to know that.
Yeah.
Uh,
So is there a map that shows
Right.
what's been sold and who's where?
It is for the center section, the section on the deep right and the far back, but over on the side
Mhm.
where Beth's family is. The deed shows that we own it. It's real narrow at the road and it gets wide as it goes around.
So how am I protected if I need to use those that my family, you say,
You just go tell them that
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we have that and they take your word for it because there is no marking.
yeah,
It's-
but wonder if
it's-
they don't.
Who wouldn't?
well, I mean, that would be something, that would be a great job for the town to do, to come up with a new plat on that right side.
Why is
Which
that
is-
right side unmarked? Is it old? Is
It's
it?
old.
Yes, it's
Okay.
very
It's
old.
old.
Okay.
My
I was
great
just thinking,
grandparents are
okay.
there. That's
Yeah.
pretty old.
Okay.
It's old. It's on the plat that the cemetery owns it, but as far as how many spaces are there,
Or how many are interred there or?
yeah. we
Right,
got a
that's just
Pretty
my,
good idea.
I'm just wondering
Oh.
how they know who's where and who's bought something that's not in there yet.
Yeah.
That's all on record, right? You all have that written down? the
Not in that
first-
section where you are.
Okay, but everywhere else. you do.
Everywhere else is, yeah.
Okay.
Also, as you go in the cemetery, right on the left, as you go in, that kind of, for lack of a better word, that field. Much of that is already marked off with grave spaces. However, we would encourage that not to be used next. because when you have a large service up there, that's the best place for people to park.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you go around the circle, it doesn't take long to fill that up. And we filled that up and that whole field on the left side many, many times. And so we would just encourage you to leave that, even though it was marked off originally, right? Tony?
Yes.
And of course, it could be sold, as far as spaces. But our opinion is that the area right in the back, that's, it's the grass is cut all the time, so plenty of space there. And then over on the left, if you went in the circle and went around to your left, over on the left, that's not marked off yet. But those two areas would be the best place to do new graves.
I mean, none of us here would ever live to see that place filled out.
Right.
The next generation will never live to see it filled out. So
I know there's a lot of us old people here.
I'm right there with you, Alana.
Yes.
And no, you're not. And I'm so sorry about that.
I appreciate it. sweetie.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
She loved you. She could get on the phone and say, I need so and so.
Oh, shoot.
And you were right there.
Yeah.
I mean, so many of you in here was, I know you cringed when you saw her number come up on your phone, but she did love you.
Yeah,
And she
was some-
appreciated what everybody did because she couldn't have done it without y'all.
she was
So,
special.
I'm crying.
Garth, you had something to say?
Well,
Change-
I'm
changed
all
your mind?
about community
No, I suppose.
and,
Okay, I thought-
and our community
Actually
and
very-
saving
okay.
things that are, that are for this, but I know we have to listen to the attorney, what she
Absolutely.
has to say. And
Absolutely.
then I guess it also needs to go before the finance committee.
Mhm.
But I think this is something that we should definitely, my opinion is take a look at.
Please do.
Um,
Thank you.
This is important to me that this be kept. I don't know how we're going to do it as a town, like I said, but I think it's very important.
Thank
It's
you.
a very important thing to keep, and anybody that knows me knows I'm about the community and what we can do to better it. And
And we are
and that-
also, we really are.
yeah, absolutely.
And certainly
So-
we don't have any intentions of letting it go in a bad direction. That's not our
No.
intent.
Right, right.
We would have to find a way for it to be kept up. But we can only do what we can do while we're here.
Right.
You're just trying to find a good home.
Yeah, I
Right.
think the town would be a good home for this because,
And that's the only thing we could come up with was the town. I mean,
Right.
You're right here and
Most people that would own it, businesses would want to make it for profit.
right,
And, and there are things you could do, possibly make some money doing that. But that's not how my dad and Mr.
yeah, and that's not about.
that's not how they
community,
envisioned
And
it.
that's not about
Right.
community
And the
either.
Richardson family still put some money into that cemetery. And so we would like to see it stay nonprofit.
There's nothing for Charles. He's a retired airline pilot, lives in Winchester. It's nothing for me to go to post office. It's not a lot to a lot of people, but to that little cemetery, a $500 check every couple months or 6 weeks, whenever he thinks about it or feels like it, it's a big help. That cuts the grass a couple times,
Absolutely.
and he's done that historically for years. So,
Yeah, there's
know,
a
I
lot of,
think that
there's a
one
lot
of
of
the-
townsfolk buried there, so I think it's important to,
One of the things that we are again seeing if we take on something like this is this falls in an area where we already have challenges. And that is kind of like public works, grounds maintenance, that sort of thing, which we're already very, very stretched on because we don't have staff, full-time staff who do that. And so I just want to, even though again, my heart says, gee, this is great. And yet it's not something that we already have the capacity for. So.
Right.
but we already have,
We're,
Garth,
Garth,
Yeah,
You're recommending that this be put before the
Yes.
finance committee, so that
Right.
all these
Yes.
questions, we're not trying to make a decision tonight.
right,
exactly. We're not going to make a decision tonight and I just want to make sure that we get as much for the
Right.
whole council out at this point. I think that the finance committee should discuss it at the next meeting. And then we need to set something up so that Ms. Arard can also give us the nuance of municipality or a town entity handling this kind of thing before we discuss it any further, bring it to a vote.
well, I'm gonna make a motion to refer it to the
Yeah.
finance committee and to Andrea to speak to us. as soon as she
Can I
can
add one other thing?
speak to us.
Sure.
If we could put it on record, have no idea what your grounds people would charge to cut the cemetery, but to help the town, you know, Brent and I talked to him before I left home this evening. Brent and I would be willing to, if it's the next year or 2 or 3, or, you know, to continue doing it at the same, we just want to see it taken care of.
Right.
Oh,
No, we appreciate that.
You know, I hop on my mower and I can be at the cemetery in 2
Right.
minutes if I run it in high gear. But I mean, you know, I'm right there at it. So,
Right.
and we would be willing to help y'all with that.
We
Wonderful.
appreciate you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Motion on the floor.
I'm sorry, Marcia, could you restate? your
A second.
I made a motion to refer it to the finance committee and to speak with, for Andrea to come speak with us.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have a second?
A second.
Sandy seconded. Any other discussion? Start with a vote. Marjorie,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
I say yes. Alana
Yes.
yes.
Mary?
Yes.
and Sandy. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
We
y'all
wait to
very
hear from
much.
you guys.
If
Yeah.
y'all have any questions in the interim, if you need us to be here at another meeting, just let us know.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
All right, thank you. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
y'all so much.
See you guys.
Good
See you guys.
seeing you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, matters of council. Do you want to do that sort of as a town administrator report, or are we just gonna read off the sheet?
We'll go from the sheets
Okay.
since she made me do them.
Slave driver.
All right.
No.
First item is the pool update. You had some slides for that, right?
Yeah, hold on. Screen share.
The bottom line on this is that we tried to get everything we wanted with respect to the pool and the surrounding structures. And we came to the hard facts of what it's actually would cost us in that particular circumstance. And so we asked the architect and the general contractor to come up with a plan that would be the minimus of our options to get that within the budget that we have already established. And so this is the plan that is up there, the lifeguard and concession stand to the right that would be able to be added in the future. To the left where the pump area and utilities are, that is an open fenced area with a lean-to roof so that it's not a contained structure, and the only real building is the restrooms in the middle. And that cuts a lot of expense out. We still don't have the numbers on that, but that's where we're working from, and hopefully that will get us into a spot where we will be under budget and potentially even have some slack, but that's where we thought we were going to be before. So
The bottom line is that we've reduced the square footage, and that's how they normally figure their numbers. And so we, like the mayor said, we had asked them to do a reconfiguration so that we could get down to something that was realistic for the town to be able to do. And that's what the architect came up with that. And the contractor was on spring break with his family last week. And so we have a meeting Tuesday and to see where the numbers are going to come in. But he has preliminarily said that he feels comfortable in meeting our needs. So we'll find out next Tuesday.
and other things that are on this design that were not on the other. And I've had questions on both sides of why we weren't going to do it or why we would do it. And that was year-round bathrooms at Tabor Park. And the way this is set up, it would be more like the structure it's replacing, where it's a simple bathhouse that would be for the pool only. And it's not going to be conditioned, so there's no heat and AC in it. Both of those things save us a lot of money but it would have to be winterized, but it would be available only to the pool patrons at the time the pool is open with the current structure. And when you look at the prices we had, such as $40,000 for heat and AC, that's a considerable savings. We also in materials downgraded some of the materials from one thing to another to also have some cost savings. Roy? And the parking lot, that was something that in the original plan, we were going to have to pave it, but Mr. Keim, with his ability to jawbone people into doing things that are more appropriate for this town, got VDOT to agree to let us not pave the parking lot. And so the figure that we're going to come up with is one that is going to be based on those changes. Anybody else?
That sums it up. You want to,
Yeah, we have not signed a contract with the builder,
We have not
Right.
signed a contract.
and we can ask other builders for prices too.
One of the things that we discussed was for the subcontractors under this general was using local contractors because that also, if we're not paying people to drive here from Richmond, it might provide us with some other savings.
Well, I just think we should try to keep the money in town here.
Well,
We've got
yes.
people here that
All of those things.
all of those
Yep.
things, you know,
We're all on the same
important.
page with respect to that.
they're good contractors here.
Oh, I see.
So this was one concept. And then this is a simpler one. The other one would let in better light, but if it's a single slope like that, but the other one, we can have the pitch of the roof. Okay, hold still for a second. On this one, obviously, you get the extra light of those top windows, so you have more natural light coming into the restroom area. But in the pool committee meeting, we discussed that if we make the pitch on the roof the same on this structure as the Bristow Pavilion, that the two buildings will look a little more uniform in the park. And to just have it as a simple, whatever
Whoa. What were the three doors? Stop for a second. Go back. I'm gonna throw up. What are the three?
Oh, that's
Stalls.
screening for the pump house.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
Yes.
screening for the pump house.
okay, okay.
Okay. And on the other side is imaginary.
Oh,
That's concept for a guard station and concession stand.
Okay.
And in this design, what we would end up doing is using the concession stand from the old pool.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh,
oh,
Okay.
Picture on the roof would be, as the mayor has said, it would be a little higher, so it would complement the pavilion.
would it have some kind of windows as the other did or skylights? Nothing like that. Okay,
No,
nothing that would let ambient light in.
just
Well,
the
it-
the windows that are on the,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
The windows are up high. With the roof pitched, it would look a whole lot better.
right.
And if we have enough money, we can put a pillow on it.
Put a what?
Cupola.
On it to match.
Yeah.
Match the
oh, I
pavilion.
thought he said a pillow.
It
And
would
those were
be
what?
nice to have something.
$1,800 or something like that. It wasn't cheap, but it's not crazy.
My husband could build
Somebody
it.
might be able to donate it.
Duplo's $1,800.
Yeah.
My husband could build one.
Let's get those ladies that are just got $100,000 in a couple of months. I mean, they're miracle work.
They
Right.
don't listen anyway.
We need to talk to the same people after they hiccup. All right. Any other?
It looks good. I like it. You know, it's basic.
It is basic. I mean, like I said, the original plan, because we thought based on the price of the pool, that with the budget we had, we were gonna be able to get more stuff, but when realization you know, came to pass, then we were stuck scrambling to find a plan that would work.
Yeah. The most important thing is the pool.
Exactly.
But with the pool, you gotta have other things.
Exactly.
Gotta have a
Do,
few things.
but they don't have to be fancy Gucci.
Right. All right. Any other questions on this? That's where we are.
I forgot.
Sandy, do this. You just got a little.
A
Oh,
bug?
no, she doesn't.
I got a
Okay.
bug.
It's stitching.
Okay. Sorry. I thought I saw it move.
It's stitching. No, it's just, it's a little,
Oh,
oh,
it was-
it was a bug.
Okay.
It wasn't stitching, it
So-
was a bug.
Yeah.
That
So-
moved.
so Thank you. I was
Oh.
just trying to save her life.
Oh,
All right,
Veterinarian can do for you.
yeah, I'll tell you.
moving on. So that the committee will meet again next week and we'll see if we can have some prices for the next meeting. Next thing on the agenda is the boundary line adjustment
Street drainage.
What about?
or
Kent
drainage
Street?
on Kent Street. I
Yeah.
skipped a page. My apologies.
So wouldn't that also include the drainage on Colorado and Cross?
Well,
And
on
Colorado.
Kent Street,
Yes.
they actually- yes,
Yes, okay.
Garth.
Okay, concerns have been expressed by residents of Kent Street and Colorado Avenue of poor drainage with constant standing water on the streets. And we have contacted VDOT on several occasions and had them come out and look at the streets. And their position has been that it's a resident issue and not a VDOT issue. Several weeks ago, we met with paving contractors who do subcontract work at VDOT in the Middle Peninsula area. And we did a site visit and they looked over the streets and felt that at least part of the area were VDOT issues. And so they went and talked to VDOT and shared their thoughts with them. And the next step is to schedule a meeting with VDOT representatives and make an effort to get the matter resolved. And thanks to Beth, Delegate Hodges has been made aware of the situation and called me, and he's waiting to hear the results of our meeting with VDOT. So that's an update.
Thank you.
Questions from council or?
Nope.
That
That's-
sounds good.
Okay. Now we can move on to the boundary line adjustment.
Okay. At this point, council is working with Middlesex County to include parcels of property into the town limits. The Board of Supervisors voted at one of their previous meetings to support the initiative.
Nice.
And Ms. Arard and Ms. Lewis, the attorneys for the town and the county, have been working on this matter. I've scheduled a meeting with Wayne Jesse, who is a Board of Supervisor member. And he is supposed to be getting with Mr. Baylor. And we're gonna go up and look at the some of the concerns they've been having about possible leakage. And we're gonna show them what this town has done to prevent any kind of flooding in the future. And as of tonight, I haven't heard back from Wayne Jesse, so.
And if I could just piggyback on what Garth said, when the Board of Supervisors authorized advertisement of a public hearing, they had certain conditions in that motion related to flooding in the area. And so, and we need to address those before we really move forward in order to gain support for the boundary line adjustment as a whole.
Yeah, good point. Okay. So that's it. I mean, the bottom line is Wayne Jesse's the one that brought it up at the meeting, so it's obviously important for him to allow it to move forward, for him to feel satisfied, but that also requires Mr. Baylor to be satisfied with the provisions as well. All right, anybody else on that one?
I just want to ask, are the concerns about leakage or flooding, are they something that we're prepared to
The,
answer
the,
or?
the history on this is there was a time when there wasn't an overflow cutoff valve on the tank
Oh.
and the pump didn't shut off. It's like the tank, my understanding is the tank is sort of like the back of your toilet where there's a float that when it gets to a certain spot, the pump shuts off. Well, in this case, that switch was faulty and the well just continued to pump 500 gallons a minute. And before anybody knew, Mr. Baylor's basement was full.
Oh,
Okay.
Sure.
Now, the interesting thing is the boundary line adjustment, the place of the new well and the place of the next well really doesn't have anything to do with water going in to the basement because it's all concerned with the tank overflowing. However, when that happened the last time, there's a second cutoff valve that's on the outflow tube of the overflow, such when it gets hit with water, it shuts the pump off if the float in the tank doesn't. Do I have that correct?
Like a backup.
And in addition, we cut a trench that redirects any overflow down the hill into the storm sewer that's at the top of Mullins property. And so things for mitigation of those issues that was
Already
done
taken
years
care of.
ago.
okay.
But because it was a rearrangement of stuff, it was something that came back to the
Okay.
forefront of their concerns. And so it's in our due diligence, we want to make sure they're comfortable with things that are up there in place.
Okay.
We really shouldn't have to do anything other than show them how we have mitigated their concerns and are preventing Mr. Baylor from having a basement full of water
Okay.
again.
Oh, good.
And certainly we would all understand why we don't want that to happen.
But that could happen with or without a boundary line adjustment.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes, it has.
Right.
it-
Nothing
it-
to do with
it's
the
a-
boundary line adjustment.
It really does.
It's a peripheral issue, but it is important to the people that are going to have to help us move forward. All right. So I think we're all up to speed on that. Any other comments on that before I move on? Andrea, you good? All right. Next item, and that's the minutes from February 23rd,
I make a
2023.
motion to approve the minutes for February 23rd, monthly meeting as presented.
I approve.
A second. All right, any
Gotta approve.
discussion? All right, Margie, I'll let you go first.
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
I say yes, Alana.
Yeah.
Mary.
Yes.
Sandy.
Yes.
Okay. Thank goodness. All right. And now we're announcements. Is that right?
Motion to adjourn.
Wait a
Wait.
minute. Announcements. You got any announcements?
You wanna-
I wanted to. Gosh, she's quick over here.
Yeah, I knew she was in a hurry.
I spoke with Garth and about placing some advertisements for Urbanna, the town of Urbanna in the river, which is very popular. It's seen, by many people from Yorktown to Colonial Beach. Y'all are all familiar with the river, correct? And so we talked about the parts of town that should be, I'm gonna pass it down, but kind of hold out here for everybody. We really want to play on the marina because we want to start making more money off of the marina. And so I got the permission from Mr. Blue to use the one that he took, which is very nice. I think it was taken, it's an aerial shot taken, I believe on the 4th of July, it looked like to me.
Mhm.
And then we have all the information on the side, including latitude and longitude, so you can get there from your boat. And then up here in the right-hand corner, we have Tabor Park with the farmer's market and the Second Saturdays logo, so that everyone will see that we're having that every month through the season. And then the other is the Museum and Visitor Center. And we have Paul Malone, all full dress, a little picture of him showing the Mitchell map. So, and then we have the Urbanna.com so that people can be drawn to that and go see what we do. And so it starts in May and it goes through October. And so
Is
you've
it
already seen.
UrbanaVA.com or?
Yeah, it's urbanava.com. I mean, urbana.com is, do you want it to say, it's not, I haven't pushed
No,
it through
that's-
yet. Do you want it to
Well-
go to the government one?
Well, I'm not sure. which-
Mm-mm.
It's urbana.com is
Or if Urbana.
the one that Dave Lipscomb does for
Okay,
us with
okay.
all the events.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
urbana.com.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the government one is urbana.va.gov.
Well, it's the
Right.
government one, yeah.
Yeah, that's got the
UrbanaVA.gov.
VA in that one,
Um,
but not,
And you can find a link to that one, I think, but.
Yeah.
it's Probably better.
yeah,
just to
but
go
we
to-
don't want everybody to go to the gov and go, well,
As I said,
Taxes,
yeah, we
So-
we needed that for a long time.
Yeah.
so I think,
Yes.
and that's a full page ad, folks, on the inside of the front page that just became available.
Ooh,
And I kind of held on it, sat on it, because the person who gave it up was on my account. And luckily, I brought it over and talked to Garth and the mayor approved it to go through. And I think it's gonna be,
What is the cost?
great.
it was per one, it's under $1,000 a month. It's just under, because you get 6 issues, and so it brings it down to a cheaper cost per month.
Right.
But that inside page is a little more expensive because it's a
Right.
glossy
Right.
paper, which that the only 2 pages on the river is the front and the back that are glossy. So I was really excited that came open and you jumped on it when you did. And
Yep.
but if anybody has any edits to it, you have till tomorrow. And then it goes to print. That's our deadline tomorrow. And I worked with Joe pretty on him a lot this afternoon with Jeannie's help over here. She was helping me.
You don't need to come after one. It's 127.
Yeah, but the deadline for the inside page
Yeah.
is tomorrow. I know, because I've been sweating it out all week getting it right.
Looks
But-
great.
Think you've done a
There's just
great
a
job and
couple of-
thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, yes, sir.
Get Mr.
about the
English
circus?
person on that one.
Excuse me.
Circus.
The
what
question
they
is
do.
whether.
Oh, well, the thing about the circus, that will have been gone by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
No, I'm not worried about that, but
Oh,
pump up the circus.
oh, yeah. Well, we also did an ad that we paid for that was in the paper. I don't know if you saw it last week. And the reason too, color was free. So I pushed that week. That's why it's not in this week's, because we've got $70 off on that ad because it was just happened to be a special that week.
That's also being shared a lot on Facebook too, Roy, just so you know, to different places and other, there's a fella in Deltaville that shares it a lot too.
No, everybody ought to buy a ticket.
Right.
yeah,
Oh, we
definitely.
are.
Yeah.
But that was a beautiful ad, I thought. It was color, it was nice size, 4x5, I believe. And I don't know if y'all got last week's paper. But
It looked good.
and then we did one, which we did one for the marina in last week's paper too, as well, because it was free color. So I thought that was a beautiful ad. It was a different picture than the aerial one.
Good.
So we're getting advertisement that we did not do before. We're advertising a lot. And I think the river is that's gonna be a great way to
We'll
get
see
it
if
out.
Makes a difference.
Well,
right?
and we didn't have an advertising budget. We had the only advertising budget that we had, if I recall, and I don't remember the number, but Roy or Garth may remember,
It's $5,000
for River Realm
Yeah.
for the entire year. So, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
So anyway, like I said, if you have any changes, please let me know by
There was a
tomorrow
little
morning,
change.
because
There was a little change on there, Beth.
Oh.
See where it says 127-foot slip?
Yeah.
There's
yeah,
no
I
comma
circled
after
it.
one.
oh, thank you. Okay,
It's
I'll
circled.
make sure that gets out. Anyway, I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna do well.
Yeah, thank
Good.
you.
All right. Anything else?
Looks great.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Yes.
All right. Any discussion?
Nope.
Sandy? Mary?
Yes.
Alana?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say yes. Beth?
Yes,
Marjorie?
Absolutely.
And then
Okay.
yes. You were answering his question.
Yeah, it was.